Ready?
I feel like we're news reporters.
We are news reporters. Welcome to the Couples Take On. I'm Austin.
And I'm Shelley.
Today we're going to talk about perimenopause and cycles.
Yes, we are. Perimenopause and cycles. So some of the things that I've really had to soften and lean into is really opening up and discussing with Austin just the changes that I'm going through as I'm entering a new phase of life called perimenopause, menopause. I think I noticed about 9 months ago my cycle's really changing, and then over the course of that change I noticed like weight gain, and I thought, hey, I think it's because I stopped exercising. True story. Hey, maybe it's because I briefly started changing the way I was eating, meaning going back into some old habits, some old ways of eating with processed foods and higher fat foods and whatnot. And winter was rough for me as I was going through the change, and just there was a lot of stuff going on. And then my body was changing in a way that I'm still trying to like suss out and figure out, because so I've gained about 30 pounds since August. And when I look in the mirror and I look at my body, the fat distribution is completely different than it's ever been in my different phases of gaining and losing weight. And so when I finally started to really dive into my hormones and my cycles and everything like that, I realized I cannot do this alone. I cannot be like isolated in a silo, living with people in my home and pretending that something's not physically, mentally, and even spiritually changing within myself. And so that's when I'm like, hey Austin, I need a little bit of help of figuring some of this out, because I noticed once I ovulate, I'm a different person. I don't have the same energy levels. I'm much moodier. A lot of my old shadows start to come out. The fatigue is insane. Brain fog hasn't been too bad, but what I notice is when my body's off, then my mind is off, and then I'm not connected and I'm spinning in this weird anxiety, in this weird space. Yeah, so I decided to say, hey, I really need help, and let's like figure this out together. And so luckily he was there for the challenge.
Well,
but that also meant me like being very open of I'm ovulating, this is where I am in my cycle, now I'm menstruating, because these were all very things that it was never demonstrated. Those conversations, I've never seen those conversations others have had. Even growing up, I didn't talk a lot about my cycles with my female friends. We would just more complain of, oh, I'm really PMSing, or oh, I'm on the rag, my period, etc. But it wasn't like a true kinship of sisterhood surrounding like menses and the changes that our bodies go through. And so I've really had to allow you into my world of female things, but also coming to the realization that I just had a son. He graduated from high school and college, so he's on to a new phase of his life. And so when I started to lean into myself and to say, this is my new phase of my life, like this is the next phase. I had the 20s, I had the 30s, and then now it's this whole new phase that I'm entering into. And so I'm really grateful that you're along for the ride, but there are times that I feel very in a shame space that I'm changing, in a shame space of not feeling at my fullest, not being love and light. But the reality is that we're humans and we cannot always be love and light, that we have all of these different cycles. And I'm also very much affected by the moon cycles. So when the full moon hits and even the new moon, a lot of times I can just feel a lot of my energy very much depleted. I'm very much working on different things. Recently, I've cut out most caffeine, so I no longer do coffee. Instead, I'm doing mushroom tea, mushroom coffee. It's actually really good. I'm enjoying that. I'm adding in a lot more hydration, a lot more protein, because in doing a lot of our research, we recognize that protein is key. And then there is this fabulous lady, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, and she's written this new book, The New Menopause, and it's fucking amazing. And I listened to her podcast with Dr. Huberman, and there were so many nuggets that we're going to go back, because I have an appointment with the gynecologist tomorrow, to utilize a lot of the information she gave, which is peer-reviewed, for my doctor, because my doctor's office is flat out refusing to really help me with hormone replacement therapy. And they literally tell me, well, it's just part of life. honey, I am not putting up with that gaslighting, and no, it is not a part of life. Yes, it is a part of life, where there are ways in which we can collaborate, you as a medical professional, me as the patient, to help me get to my optimum. It doesn't have to be in such a way that it's like, here's birth control pills, that's what we're giving people.
Well,
no, that's not, and in fact, she even talks about that in her book. That's not proper hormone replacement therapy. And then the fact that literally much of the research, there's none. She even talked about, I believe, and I might be wrong, the National Association of OBGYNs. There's not even an area within them that has menopause related. They don't even study it, nor do they talk about it. And the other thing that you and I have been frustrated with is that my general practitioner refers me to the OBGYN for anything dealing with hormones. Then the OBGYN keeps referring me back to the doctor because they want to rule out everything. They want to test my thyroid. They want to test my sleeping. They literally want to test fucking everything before they will even consider entertaining hormone replacement therapy. So me as the patient, letting them know, this is what I've noticed, this is how I feel in my body, this is how my cycles are. They don't care. They literally want to see like my blood work and my tests before anything to help me.
But all that stuff came back pretty much fine.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's like they just throw these constant roadblocks in the way to not actually help you, to gaslight you. But when you have a good game plan and you're equipped with knowledge and information and what's currently going on with research, and you can present that in a way that's professional, calm, and articulate, then they have to help you. But it's like, why do you have to get to that level of, I don't know,
it's like a frustration that is not needed. It's an anxiety that's in the body that I'm already anxious enough. I'm already anxious enough with all of these changes because literally the receptors in my body are no longer getting the different hormones that I used to produce during my cycles. And I think there's just a very much a denial within the medical community, and then especially within the HMO and the managed care plans. I know a lot of women who are going and seeking care outside with other doctors, but that costs a lot of money. It's about $500 to $1,000 to have the transdermal hormone replacement therapy or the pellets. Because I know the other thing that women talk about is having a really big decrease in testosterone and how that can be masking other things, or that actually brings on depression and other things in women's lives. And so we're just trying to figure it out for myself and be supportive, and so I'm really appreciative of that. But that also means that I have a responsibility to be taking care of myself, which means I eliminated caffeine, or most caffeine. I have started eating much cleaner. I don't eat a lot of bread type carbohydrate products. A lot of processed foods I've eliminated. And that's been really hard because that was something that it grounded me when I ate that stuff because I've been eating it for so long. I'm starting to feel really good because I'm recognizing over the last 2 weeks how far I've come, so I'm celebrating that. I've started lifting stronger and heavier, adding creatinine, different supplements, working with the local naturopathic doctor here in town to help me with different supplements. But then ultimately I would like to try the hormone replacement therapy to see if it helps tremendously with my anxiety, because I think that's where I'm struggling, is after the ovulation is the anxiety that like just comes on. It's none of it's true, but I feel it much deeper and harder in my body than I've ever felt before.
When you had your Oura ring and you could track your cycles after the ovulation, like you can look at temperature, basal temperature, and you can see the trends of the hormone crashes after ovulation. And in the podcast with Huberman and Dr. Haver, she was talking about how the ovaries will keep sending out estrogen to try to get the egg to release, and then it takes a lot of extra estrogen to get to that point when women get a little older, and then as soon as that happens, then it's boom, crash. Mm-hmm. And then also like some people have been talking about there's like a thought, feeling, emotion going on with like when they don't get pregnant. And then there's this like disappointment phase that's also causing some anxiety and depression and stuff that we were looking into. So like, how do you support your partner through a new phase of their life? So like, it's about open and honest communication of like, how she's feeling, but also how I'm feeling too. If I have thoughts, feelings, and emotions coming up too, because I could get frustrated of her changes going on. Some of it is like she can take an active role in it, and some of it is just body changes, right?
Mm-hmm. And some of it is just like me speaking up and being like, I just need space, I need time when I get grouchy, or just sometimes I just want to do my own thing, meaning it's nothing against you, but it's just I want to be left alone.
So we've noticed approaching the cycle discussion from a place of curiosity has been really helpful. And so in the luteal phase, like after ovulation, it's usually like the check a box phase, right? But if you don't feel good, how are you going to check those boxes? And so when you feel good and you're feeling good in like the follicular and pre-ovulation phase, then you're trying to get stuff done, but that's the time of the month where you want to like play and go out and be social and film your master classes or whatever. And you're like, oh, I'm going to get that stuff done later. And then you ovulate and then you just like crash out. Mm-hmm. So, instead of being, depressed and doom scrolling, Shelley decided to do a paint by numbers. And it's literally almost done. And she's been working on that for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And so also, she's filming herself doing that. And by filming herself doing the painting, she has content that she can use later, so she can be consistent in content and her messaging throughout her cycle, her entire cycle, and not just like the first part.
Because I noticed there's times like I literally don't want to do anything, and it's more times than not like in that time period. And so I've been slowly extracting myself, slowly like doing things that I don't normally do. So I traveled to New York, and there's a 3-hour time difference, and so we were up, the sun was 5:30 in the morning, and so I was up about 5:30, which is 2:30. And so then since I've been home, I noticed that I'm waking up at 5:30 our time, and so I'm going outside and I'm tending to the garden and I'm looking at the sun and I'm practicing gratitude, and that's made a really big shift in my mindset about things. I noticed there's times I'm not as angry, or I can let things like roll off my back, like my nervous system is more in a stabilized space, so I just don't get as perturbed. And I still can get perturbed, but I'm just noticing by getting up early and setting those intentions how much calmer and more at peace that I'm feeling. And then even going into my appointment tomorrow with the gynecologist, I'm having Austin come with me just to help me in sussing this all out. But I also am wondering if we just go in and see what she has to say, and then we write a really long letter, or like a grievance style letter if they're not wishing to help in the way that I would like to be helped.
So going into a meeting like that, it's important to set your intentions when you go in of, okay, what is it that I really want from my doctors and my healthcare team to help me with? What do I really want? Set that out. Then when you go in, figure out how you want to communicate that. And if you need to take notes before you go in, great. If you're going to use ChatGPT to help you organize all of your thoughts so that you have a good plan, like do that. If you want to bring your spouse or a friend, do that. Mm-hmm. But like part of advocating for yourself and not getting gaslit is actually taking the time to set your intentions. Like later today, we're driving down to Modesto and Oakdale for a holistic Chamber of Commerce thing, and we've blocked out that time in the car that we're going to talk about that meeting with her healthcare team tomorrow.
Well, I have a feeling we'll just go in, because it's a pap smear appointment, and I'll probably briefly talk to her about what the options are, and then come back and retreat, and then really lay out based on, actually, Dr. Haver, if you follow her on Instagram, you can get a free checklist from her, including how to talk to your provider and your insurance company to get what it is you need. Because she recognizes that many insurance companies will not cover HRT. They just want you to be it is the way it is in life.
And that's why they cock block and roadblock you every step of the way. And sometimes you need somebody to help you navigate all of their like procedural bullshit. And I'm pretty good at that. You know, Shelley used to always run away from it, but now Shelley's, no, I need this, because Shelley's going through some phase changes where it's affecting her daily life activities, right? That's a key word.
Yeah.
Daily life activities. Oh, you don't want to do hormone therapy? Okay. You want to write me off of work? It's like they don't want to do that. So now it's what's the next step? So you have to go through a little bit of their process so that they can do what you need. It's a little give and take thing. But they're going to throw roadblocks in front of you, but you have to go through them if you want the help from them. But now there's so much more boutique medicine and concierge medicine and online places that are like, they can talk to you and get you prescriptions of whatever you like a long time ago, people would be like, oh, I'm going to my doctor, they're going to save all my problems. And that's, you're in the victim trap, and they're the victor, and your disease is the villain. And it's, whoa, can you walk into your healthcare provider and think of them as a member of your healthcare team? And then I'm a member of Shelley's healthcare team. Like, I'm trying to be a supportive spouse. Yeah, sometimes I get frustrated with her, with the process, with the hormones, with riding the waves. But that's part of learning how to work with somebody. And also part of her communicating to me her thoughts, her feelings, her emotions allows me to respond to that. And then with me, with her, hey, I'm a little frustrated with what's going on with your hormones. Like, what do you think I can do to help? Or how can you help me with integrating this life change of hers? And that's the open communication, radical honesty, radical consent, radical responsibility, right? So just taking the time to get on the same page now. Years ago, we'd just be blaming each other, right? But like at some point you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, I'm going through a life change, or I have a health opportunity, or I need to integrate this life-changing event, experience, or diagnosis. And what am I going to do with that information going forward? Like, sometimes it could be the biggest blessing of your entire life, right? And we did a podcast with a woman a year ago, Luthia, and she was talking about like the phases of life and how when women go into perimenopause, that's when they step into their power. And so that it's interesting to see the phases of life, the seasons, the moon cycle, the monthly cycle of women, testosterone cycle of men, the testosterone cortisol daily cycle. And then also like now I'm getting more in touch with my cycle and getting grounded in the seasons, that I also feel some of the moon cycle stuff as well. We're all human beings, and sometimes we get stuck in human doings, and so we need to step back into the human being, into our authenticity, and check with ourselves of what we want to do, how we want to accomplish that, and what we might need to do ourselves, and with our partners, our friends, our healthcare team.
I was going to say that was part of my awareness with caffeine, is I noticed that I would have my cup of coffee along with 1 packet of sugar and too much half and half from my favorite donut store, and I would be jittery the rest of the day. And so then I started doing decaf, but then for me the dairy and the sugar, it was contributing, and I was not feeling well. I wasn't feeling at my optimum.
That's the feedback in real time from your body.
Yes.
And if you listen to your body's cues, like when Shelley would go to the donut shop, and there was some good energetics there, like they were super friendly and nice and everything, and that's like something fun to do. And if you're at home,
I liked
working,
their coffee too.
And they had nice coffee, right?
I'm not opposed to having coffee occasionally, but what I just noticed is that I just don't need it. Like, I think when I worked for nights for so long, I relied on energy drinks. Like, I would literally have 2 energy drinks. Like,
so I
did some crazy shit. So I believe my body was also used to being in a state of that anxious go. And so when I started to create peace in my life, that slowly came back in. The caffeine, I can't do energy drinks at all, but the caffeine came back in. And I noticed I started being like, oh, I'm acting how I used to act, like running around and not being conscious and not being aware, and who cares? And then I'm like, what is going on? And then I just recognized like my body has that subconscious programming from years and years of guzzling caffeine and caffeine drinks. And I just was like, I don't want to be that way anymore. I would like to be like grounded and at peace, and I can achieve that.
So if you're used to being in a soda cycle, which could be like a hormone cycle or a carbohydrate cycle, and if you're in that and you're like, sugar crash, caffeine, sugar crash, caffeine, sugar crash, you're in a cycle. And that cycle could override your natural hormone cycle, right? And you're used to that cycle. And when you stop doing that stuff, then suddenly your body's natural cycle is, oh, okay, let's get recalibrated. And so Shelley stepped into that phase of her life where it's like after the ovulation crash. And so now it's, okay, what tasks could you set up? What tasks or what do you want to do or be in those different phases? Mm-hmm. So like now in the luteal phase, Shelley is setting up to do painting, and she films herself, and she does gardening and tending and like things like that. Cleaning the house, stuff, yeah. Bookkeeping, taking care of that kind of stuff. But then she already has some nice content stacked up from when she was like pre-ovulation mm-hmm. to roll it out so we can be a little more consistent with our content and our messaging, not only online, but also in person. So like we want to do some canvassing of flyers, but like it's 100 plus degrees the next couple days. So what we did is we saw a day that was 90 degrees and Shelley's in her luteal phase. So we decided, let's block in the time blocking for that day. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're stacking the deck mm-hmm. in your favor by thinking ahead and sending your intentions for how you want to show up with your life and honoring that you are doing the best you can, the best way you can in the moment of that day.
Also, like I ovulated Saturday and I started like the morning time, I was on fucking fire. And then all of a sudden the afternoon hit, I started having cramps. I started not feeling super great. I did not drink enough water. I was like, hey, can we go get like, I'm feeling like I need to be creative. Can we go get like a paint by number? And so we went and got that, and then later on that evening...
That's part of the communication piece. She's, hey, I'm not feeling so great, but I think I could do a paint by numbers. So we went and got one.
And then later on that night, I had really severe cramps, and I just knew. I was like, I ovulated. And so I took some magnesium, because I've really been trying to take that at night. And I woke up in the middle of the night with horrible leg cramps. And so I knew immediately I had not drank enough water. And so I thought about all of my different interactions with food and beverages throughout the day, and sure enough, I really had not drank enough water, and so it made a lot of sense why I was having leg cramps and just not feeling as optimal. And then plus just the ovulation. And then Sunday, I noticed the same thing. I had like great energy in the morning, and then the afternoon, not so much. And that's what I'm noticing right now. So what I'm trying to do is really stack the deck in my favor, but then also really focusing on practicing a lot of gratitude and just a lot of things that I'm like grateful for, and abundance and things like that, because those things I can control, if that makes sense. I feel alive. I can feel it in my heart when I'm practicing those things, and then the anxiety and all this other things, or even just the things I'm feeling in my body. I know I keep saying the word things because it's such an individual thing. It's individual. Like everybody has their own blueprint. But you can certainly get different information from different people and try things. And I've also noticed things I did last month aren't necessarily helping me this month.
Yeah.
I think it very much depends on environmental factors, it's seasonal factors, the food that I've put in my body. I've had travel. I had some days I didn't sleep. I went 2 days without sleep for 36 hours. So I was at the airport. So that all takes a toll on my overall like health and well-being.
Oh, you said things in your body. Mm-hmm. I feel that sometimes that's a big reason of why modern medicine doesn't really help women too much with perimenopause, is because it's a bit of a moving target and it's a bit individualized. Mm-hmm. At least that's what it's appearing to be. Now there's some overall like holistic things to do. Become more aware, open up conversation. Like there's a lot more conversation going on now. Encourage more research. I've
joined some Facebook groups that are very specific. There's one that's in my area by a friend I know, so I was thankful She created this because then she was telling me her doctor that she sees through the same insurance company I have. And so I'm like, okay, if this person isn't going to be willing to treat me, then I will reach out to the doctor she was saying was great. That's how you get that communication going to get the change that you need to benefit yourself. Also, being the advocate for yourself, basically.
I lost my train of thought there. It's okay. And that happens too. Sometimes you got to give yourself grace if you forget something.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't find my coffee this morning, or my tea. I was like, where'd it go? And it was like behind all the big zucchini leaves, because I had set it down on the box, on the shelf, on the box, and I couldn't see it. But I knew it was there, so I was just laughing about it. And then honestly, like, my face is really broken out, like with cystic acne again. I'm like, I haven't had cystic acne since my teens. And then I went and did Accutane treatment, and it really helped. And so it's been just, and the weight gain also, and then also the fact that the medical establishment I go to is, oh, you gained weight? Here, we'll refer you to the weight loss clinic. I'm like, wait, what? I had weight loss surgery. Like, my tool still works. And she's, no, she's like, here, if you want to take the semaglutide or the GLP-1s, I think they're called, go check it out. So then in doing the research, I'm realizing that some of the research is actually showing that it helps menopausal women in their weight loss, like, long term. So I'm leaning into all of that because I have to go through all of these processes. And I do still have a tool. I have my weight loss, or I have my pouch for my stomach. And then it's also making sure I'm getting enough protein in, because pretty much I need about 40 grams of protein per meal, or there's a whole calculation to figure out.
Like, so what I have always, when I was doing book club, one of the books, Stacy Sims was talking about how the data of the women follow the cycles of their athletic output through the ages, right? And she was also talking about how women need more protein. They need to lift more heavy weights so that they can have more muscles, because when you have more muscles, that's where the water hides. That's where the water's stored. If you want to make hormones, you need water. You need to have that reaction happen in water so the enzymes can change the vitamin D3 to vitamin D in the sun, and then going from D to the precursors of all the sex hormones.
But then we're also finding out that not all water is created equal.
I was going to talk about that.
It's
so once, women have been told, like, oh, you don't want to be too strong, you're not going to look ladylike, and it's, wait, what? And when you get more muscles, then you can have more water to run these reactions. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the other thing. I realized, working with my trainer and PT, that I drank plenty of water. It just wasn't getting to my cells. It wasn't getting to my cells because it wasn't carrying any nutrients with it. But in this book, Quench, it was talking about how when you get a lot of your hydration from plants, like through juicing or smoothies or chia seeds or whatever, with your water, then the cells want that stuff, so they uptake it and they get rid of the waste. And then you become more hydrated. When you're more hydrated, you can make more hormones and you can be more regulated in your hormones. When you eat a lot of carbohydrates, those sequester hormones. And then you're not getting your full amount of hormones that your body is trying to communicate with your body. And so sometimes you might feel off or tired or weird or whatever. And so it's like being mindful. Are you having soda override your cycle, or carbohydrates, or where are you at in your cycle?
I was going to also say, even if you're not near perimenopause, buy her book, The New Menopause, because really she talks about starting at age 40, you need to start preemptively supplementing and taking care of your body to prepare for when you have the change. Meaning adding different, like, supplements, different routines, rituals, the water, like working out, like really taking care of yourself, and you have the ultimate control over your body. You are the one who knows the most about your body. And so she's talking about starting that at about age 40. And in reflecting back to when I turned 40 and then just all the different changes I've had, I completely agree. And so why not stack the deck in your favor and start doing things that are going to enhance moving forward into the new phase of life? Because I came from a background where it was like growing old was like a curse.
Right. Like,
and now I'm like fuck, that's not my story. That's somebody else's story. If they want to look at growing old as being a curse, then that's on them. I want to look at growing old as like fucking amazing warrior goddess type of shit.
That's what Luthia was saying about like some of the ancient tribal wisdom. Women are born with a certain amount of eggs in their body, and then they transition in puberty into childbearing ages, and then that kind of tapers off, and then women in perimenopause are stepping into like their power as a woman, as a leader, as a community person, and like stuff like that. It's like this new phase of life, and it's like, what can you do to make that transition in a new phase a little easier for you, or better for you, or however you want it to be, right? Like having sovereignty in yourself, stepping into your own power, reconnecting with your power, reconnecting with your creativity, like sacral energy, creativity, womb, feminine energetics, like there's a lot there. From a man's perspective, it's like riding the cycle of female partner is when she's a little more creative, maybe that's a time for me to be a little more creative, right? I don't know, that's just kind of some of my thoughts. And then like with the working out thing, Stacy Sims was saying that the best time to lift the heaviest weights is actually during your period, because that's when your body is set up to eliminate, to flush things out. So if lactic acid builds up, it's perfect time to get rid of it. And most women have been told, oh, it's your period, you better just take a break. It's really like a victim projection sometimes. And it's, do you really have to do that? Or could you just honor your body where you're at and your capabilities of where you're at and do the best you can for that day? And so for me, I dealt with some like low testosterone stuff, and so like I felt tired a lot, whatever. And then I started realizing that like I was eating too much like carbs and stuff. And since the pandemic, I've lost about 40 to 50 pounds. But during that time, like testosterone was low, I wasn't feeling good, like cortisol was high. That was a crazy situation, teaching online and everything. But as I started eating better and eating more plants and eating more hydrated and eating meat and fish and stuff, I found that I was able to increase my testosterone even at age 40 to, I think it went up about 40%. And to me, that felt good. I felt better. I was able to work out more. And even though it's still a little lower, by being active and intentional with what I'm doing, I was able to feel better. So like with Shelley, it's, you can go into your bed and just, my period's coming, I don't feel good, and scroll. Or you can be like, what can I do today? And you like build some system for yourself. I was in a shadow work group with some ladies talking about AI. I said, oh, what if you just use some AI to even the load out through the month, so when you feel like you ovulate and you crash out, you have everything already done. And then you could actually just chill. And
I like ChatGPT because I can take like the thoughts that I put down on paper or in the computer, and I can upload it and ask specifically what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a structure, I'm looking for a framework, I'm looking for a blueprint. Like whatever it is that I'm desiring, it can see all the trends that I might not be seeing in the information that I'm supplying for it. So I'm just giving that as a heads up, as ways that you can use like ChatGPT for your benefit in your cycle and for like just improving your life overall. So.
Oh yeah. Is there any final thoughts you have, or?
No, I'm fading, but that's usual.
Oh.
You know.
Yeah, it's about the 40-minute mark where Shelley. It's okay though, you honor that, right? I think we both sometimes get tired of sitting. But also we want to wrap it up nice. So we're starting the Holistic Chamber of Commerce in Stockton. Anyone, anywhere can join, and you'll have reciprocity to go to any of the other ones. But if you want to be connected with us and our group that we're starting with another healer, Yamaya, definitely come check out our chapter. And we're going to be doing some IRL events in Stockton and surrounding area and online. And then we've also been helping a lot of people with implementation, which has been really interesting for women entrepreneurs and people getting connected with themselves, is building some structure for yourself to flow into and flow through. We just helped a client finish a book.
That was exciting.
So we got that to the publisher and got it all edited and formatted and everything, and that was a cool thing. We still need to do our books, but we got somebody else done, so we're like, we know it works. So it's good to build structure for yourself and also honor your body and your emotions. So Shelley helped the client with kind of riding the waves of the expansion and the grounding and the contraction and stuff like that. And I helped with the structure and the follow through and getting the things to the finish line. Because if you just like go back into the ethereal, you might not get it done. And part of being here on earth, being a human being, is like getting those things to materialize. So that's been pretty fun. And we've been helping people with their social media and positioning and stuff like that. We just helped a restaurant get sold by getting their social media consistent, so that was very exciting. So Shelley is about to start a new podcast about bariatric women that have gone through life-changing events and experiences like bariatric surgery or considering it, and so that's pretty exciting. And so stay tuned for all of that. Join our email list, and also if you find this video resonate with you or you think it will resonate with someone, send it over to them, and we'll put the links for the Dr. Haver book, and we'll also put the link to the Huberman podcast. And then we're going to do a follow-up podcast where we're going to do a deep dive on the Huberman podcast. Yeah. For that episode about perimenopause. So.
Cool.
Is there anything else?
Thanks for support.
Sure. Love you.
Love you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye for now.